There's an old saying, a saying so old that I've seen it attributed to a dozen people, so I don't know who among them, if any, really made it up. It might have been anonymous, someone with a sense of humor and a dash of common sense. And that old saying is this: dying is easy, comedy is hard. I like that saying for several reasons. I think it's funny. I think it's true. And it links comedy with death, which I think is important. Comedy doesn't get very good, approaching excellence, until it includes death. Without death, comedy is shallow, mockery. Death puts skin in the game. Of course, as you can well imagine, it's not easy for comedy to include death. Death is the one punchline that might have too much punch. Unlike many other topics, death is not inherently funny. It's what they call no laughing matter. But the best comics walk up to a line where things are not really funny, and that's where they do their best work. They stand on the border of pain and loss and sickness and death, and they find a way to make it work, to keep the laughs coming. And that takes not only some doing, but it also takes a toll. If you mine yourself for laughs, eventually that plays out. Theater has supposedly separate masks of comedy and tragedy. Chekhov's plays and stories blur the line between the two. In many of the best of them, people are trapped by their own desires, by the dictates of social order, by the mere fact that they are alive. When the plays were first produced, no one was sure what to make of them. How to direct them was a debatable question. Were we supposed to be laughing at these foolish folk, or were they supposed to be the long-suffering objects of our pity? The plays today remain teetering between both worlds. It doesn't seem so when an audience of several thousand people is roaring with laughter, but comedy is quite a delicate, fragile thing. Wit is a butterfly. It's pretty, it flits about, it has no sting. Oscar Wilde was the very embodiment of wit. His merry plays are stuffed with clever observations, but life itself eventually caught up to Oscar Wilde, and it crushed him. No contest. Life can do that to comedy, or death, I should say. Death is quiet, ever-lurking, patient, waiting, confident, all-knowing. It lets the butterfly, the painter Whistler's trademark, have its day. The best comedians don't turn away from death. Eventually, after they have mined the fertile fields of silly human behavior, they will face up to death and destruction, and this takes a lot out of the little butterflies. And that is why so many artists come to such perilous ends. They fight that losing battle until they can fight it no longer. Does Marilyn Monroe want to go on living if she can no longer be Marilyn Monroe? Comedians are a lot like Thelma and Louise. They're on the run, and they're having a hell of a good run, but they're doomed. There's a sense it can't last that keeps creeping in, and they come closer and closer to getting caught, captured, trapped, and finally, in a last-ditch effort to avoid that capture, they do the only thing left. They deliberately cross that line and go over the edge, sacrificing themselves rather than surrendering. That is, you might say, their way of having the last laugh. You can let them have that if you stop the action, as with Butch and Sundance, and let the illusion live on. Or you can let the comic aspect go, as with Bonnie and Clyde. Very different, but the end is the same.